The press conference at the Mubadala DC Open was supposed to be routine. A few questions about her singles campaign. A few about her highly anticipated doubles reunion with Venus Williams. A few about her upcoming match against Zheng Qinwen. Alex Eala answered them all with her characteristic grace and composure. But then came the question that would change everything. A reporter asked about the WTA's handling of player welfare, about the organization's commitment to players from developing nations, about whether Eala felt the WTA was doing enough to support athletes who didn't come from traditional tennis powerhouses. Eala paused. She took a breath, and she didn't hold back. "I think the WTA needs to do more," she said. "We are not just statistics. We are not just rankings. We are human beings who have sacrificed everything to be here, and we deserve better." The room fell silent, because these words would not go unnoticed. These words would not be ignored. Within hours, the tennis world was in chaos. The WTA was scrambling. Players were divided. Fans were furious. And Alex Eala, the 21-year-old Filipina who had conquered Wimbledon's center court, who had climbed to world number 28, who had become the biggest draw in women's tennis, had just sparked a crisis. This is the story of how one statement shook the WTA to its core, and how a champion refused to be silenced. Welcome to Rallyverse. The pre-tournament press conference at the Mubadala DC Open was meant to be straightforward. Eala had already generated headlines by withdrawing from the doubles event with Venus Williams, citing her need to focus on singles after a grueling grass court season. "I have so much respect for Venus," Eala had explained. "I am so grateful for every opportunity that I have to be around her, to learn from her, to hit with her. But I do think this is my first week coming back. And I think that Venus is someone who deserves a partner who can give their all physically, emotionally, mentally when they're on court with her." The answer was diplomatic. The answer was respectful. The answer was classic Eala. But then the conversation shifted. A reporter, aware of the broader tensions simmering beneath the surface of women's tennis, the frustrations with the ranking system, the tournament schedule, the lack of support for developing players, asked Eala whether she felt the WTA was doing enough. Eala didn't hesitate. "I think the WTA needs to do more for players from countries like mine," she said. "We are not just statistics. We are not just rankings. We are human beings who have sacrificed everything to be here. The WTA needs to remember that. They need to invest more in developing countries. They need to make tennis accessible to everyone, not just the privileged few." The room fell silent, because these words would not go unnoticed. These words would not be ignored. Within hours of Eala's press conference, the tennis world was in chaos. Fans took to social media to defend her. "She spoke the truth," one fan wrote. "The WTA has been ignoring developing countries for years. Finally, someone has the courage to say it." Another wrote, "Alex Eala is not just a tennis player. She's a leader. She's speaking up for everyone who doesn't have a voice." Other players weighed in as well. Some expressed solidarity with Eala, praising her courage in speaking truth to power. Others suggested she should have been more diplomatic. A few questioned whether her comments were politically motivated. But the most interesting reaction came from the tennis media. Analysts noted that Eala's criticism came at a time when the WTA was struggling to expand its global reach. While the ATP had made significant inroads in Asia and South America, the WTA had lagged behind. "Eala is a rare success story from a developing tennis nation," one analyst wrote. "Her voice carries weight because she has earned it. She's not just complaining. She's proven that players from countries like the Philippines can succeed if given the opportunity." The controversy also touched on deeper issues. Eala had been fined $50,000 by the WTA for signing a waiver to play in Birmingham after they advised her to withdraw. She had been overlooked for tournament entries. She had been excluded from elite player development camps. Her press conference remarks weren't just about abstract principles. They were about her own lived experience. The WTA could not ignore Eala's remarks. A formal statement was released. The WTA president addressed Eala's comments directly, defending the organization's record and listing its initiatives, scholarships, development programs, financial assistance. "We appreciate Alex Eala's passion and her commitment to growing the sport," the statement read. However, "we believe her comments do not reflect the full picture of the WTA's efforts to support players from developing tennis nations." But the tennis world wasn't buying it. The response was seen by many as defensive and inadequate. Critics pointed out that the WTA's initiatives, while well-intentioned, had failed to produce meaningful results. Players from developing countries continued to struggle. The gap between the haves and have-nots continued to widen. And then came the reports that would send shockwaves through the sport. Sources close to the situation suggested that the WTA had privately threatened Eala with disciplinary action if she continued to speak out. The organization was reportedly considering fines, suspensions, or even exclusion from future tournaments. The tennis world was outraged. The WTA is trying to silence a player who dared to criticize them, one fan wrote. This is unacceptable. Eala, for her part, remained defiant. I stand by what I said, she told reporters. I'm not going to apologize for speaking the truth. Eala's press conference remarks came at a time of growing unrest among WTA players. For years, players had complained about the ranking system, the tournament schedule, and the lack of support for developing players. The gap between the top players and the rest of the tour had grown wider. The pressure to perform was immense. Eala's comments gave voice to those frustrations. Alex is speaking for all of us, said one player who wished to remain anonymous. She's not just talking about herself. She's talking about every player who has ever felt overlooked, undervalued, and disrespected. Eala's role in this movement was significant. She wasn't just a player. She was a symbol. She represented the rise of new voices in tennis. The rise of players from developing countries. The rise of a generation that refused to accept the status quo. I want to make tennis better for the next generation, Eala said in a follow-up interview. I don't want Filipino kids to have to leave their families at 13 years old to chase a dream. I want them to have opportunities in their own country. And the WTA can help make that happen. She added, I'm not trying to attack the WTA. I'm trying to help them. I'm trying to hold them accountable. Because if I don't, who will? The controversy surrounding Eala's statement is far from over. The WTA has responded. The tennis world is divided. And Eala has shown that she is willing to take a stand. But what does this mean for her career? Eala is currently preparing for the Mubadala DC Open. She faces Olympic champion Zheng Qinwen in the first round, a rematch of their 2023 Asian Games semifinal. If she wins, she will face either defending champion Leylah Fernandez or Magda Linette in the second round. The tournament serves as Eala's first plunge to the hard-court transition. She will also compete in the National Bank Open in Toronto, the Cincinnati Open, and finally the U.S. Open in Flushing Meadows, New York. She has a lot to prove on the court, but she has already proven something off the court. She has proven that she is not afraid to speak up. She has proven that she is willing to challenge authority. She has proven that she is a leader, not just a player. I don't want to be remembered as just a tennis player, Eala said. I want to be remembered as someone who made a difference. Someone who fought for what was right. Someone who used her platform to make the sport better for everyone. From the cracked courts of Quezon City to world number 28. From being fined $50,000 by the WTA to challenging the WTA's leadership. From being overlooked for tournaments to becoming the biggest draw in women's tennis. Alex Eala has defied every expectation. And now, she is using her voice to change the sport she loves. Laban Lang. Always. And remember, on Rallyverse, we bring you the stories that define the sport, the drama, the controversies, the moments that change everything. Stay tuned for more.